Where have all the salespeople gone? You know, in 2020, in the payments industry, we hear a lot about technology solutions and value propositions and selling on value. And if you're not careful as a sales professional or an executive, you can get this idea in your head that if we get the right solution in front of the right merchant, well, they're just going to buy. I mean, that's all there is to it, you know? That could not be further from the truth. And the question I have for you today is, where have all the salespeople gone? Where have all the people, whether it's salespeople, even executives, sales managers, where have all the people gone that actually believe that sales ability, sales skill, planning a presentation, crafting a compelling opening, making an assumptive sales approach, where have all the people gone that understand how massive a difference those skills make? Okay, so I want to share with you 3 quick examples from my experience over the last 2 weeks that will hopefully illustrate the importance of sales. I'll make a couple of points and then we'll be done. So number 1, about 2 weeks ago, I have a consulting client that I was working with. They have a call center, and in this call center, they schedule appointments for closers who call on the phone. So you have telemarketers scheduling appointments for other telemarketers who are the closers. And I took some time and I created a pitch. It took me about 4 hours, and I knew exactly what they were selling and how they wanted to sell it in the payments industry. And so I was able to make a script for their call center. And within that script, I made very detailed explanations of each line. Then I made like a 2-hour video course, and I explained kind of word by word through this presentation the sales psychology that actually goes into this, and how to present it, and how to say this, and what are the likely responses, and how to respond to that, and really just a complete process and plan. So we implemented that. We put the telemarketers through this program, and within, I believe it was 2 days later, I got an email from the call center manager, and the subject line read, "Huge problem with new script." And I'm like, oh, great, here we go, you know? And he says, "Huge problem with new script." I open it up and it says, it was kind of a joke. The subject line was a joke. And he said, "We're getting so many appointments with this new program that we're having trouble keeping up with the paperwork that they use to set the appointment up for the closer." And so he was joking about it. But, this idea is that these telemarketers went from, not closing very many leads and getting very many leads to getting so many leads they could barely handle them. Why? Because you have a totally planned out presentation and script that's based on sales psychology and understanding what's important to people and understanding how to mitigate risk in a conversation and understanding how to keep people on the phone. These sales skills matter. They matter in telemarketing. Just last week, I guess 6 or 7 days ago, I met a sales rep in our industry. This sales representative had sold over 300 deals in 2019. He's actually had a year where he sold over 600 mids. Now, he has a lead generation process where telemarketing leads, and then he's also doing cold calling. And one of the things that stuck out to me is I was talking to him, and I only had a few moments with him. I was doing a training session at a sales summit. And so before that training, he got in there a little early. And so I'm trying to pepper him with some questions because I want to learn from this individual. And I said, "Man, what is your secret to success?" And we were talking about it. And he talked about his assumptive approach. One of the things he talked about that blew me away, he said, "I have a book." And he said, "In this book, I have written down every objection that I have ever gotten from any merchant. And I have my response to that. And then I go and try that response out the next time I get it. And then I will craft something else." And so every objection, think about this. And this is an individual been in the industry for over a decade. Every objection, he's writing it down in his objection book and thinking carefully and planning his response to that objection. Okay? That is the kind of dedication to sales excellence that it takes to really be successful in sales. Now, certainly you can play the numbers game. You can get out there and you can just, work and work and work and work to find those few people who are searching for your solution and they're ready to say yes. But if your approach is based around finding yes, I would argue that your time as a sales professional, if you even want to call yourself that, is very limited. Because I'll tell you what, Facebook and Google AdWords and YouTube ads and Instagram ads, they are a lot better at finding yeses than you will ever be. Okay? And so as soon as all of your competitors realize that, well, I can just use Facebook to find the people that want me, right? As a sales professional, we should be creating yeses by planning our approach. About 2 days after I met with the individual I just talked about, I had breakfast with another sales representative that's been in this industry and has sold over 300 deals every year for the last, I believe, about 15 years, 12 years, something like that. And I sat down to breakfast and was there with a friend of mine, and I was asking him, tell me your approach. And, I'm obviously not going to share his approach here on this video, but as he told me his approach, it wasn't just the approach and it wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. And it was his deep understanding of the sales psychology involved in this. It was unbelievable, the level of thinking, the thought process that went into this approach. And I think many people, even in his own company, look at him and say like, well, everybody just signs up for you. It's like easy for you to go in there. And this is an individual that does one call closes all the time. And, I think, my goodness, like, how are you doing this? Well, it's because he has thought through his presentation and his sales skill is off the charts. And he's applied that sales skill to very carefully and thoughtfully think about his approach. So here's my challenge to you, okay? Let's get back to some basics about sales. By the way, at that same conference, I met a lady that sold 150 Clover Minis in 2019, one call close. Clover Minis, not terminal leases, Clover Minis, one call close. How is that possible? It's about planning and preparation and sales. Now, I'm not saying you have to do a one call close. My point is it's harder to get a one call close than it is a 2 or 3 call close, okay? So there's a lot more sales skill involved. And my point to all this is, and my challenge to you is, in 2020, yes, there's exciting solutions. Yes, there's exciting technology. Yes, you need to specialize in a particular vertical. You need to think about branding. You need to think about online marketing. You need to think about social media. But in the midst of all of that, please do not get caught up in this ridiculous idea that if you have the right solution in front of the right person, they're just going to buy. No, they're not. A very small percentage will, but the vast majority still need to be sold. And you need to think about what you're going to say. You need to think about how it's going to be perceived when you say that. You need to think about what they're going to say in response. You need to track your objections. You need to plan your rebuttals. You need to have an assumptive approach that goes from hello to yes without any exit ramps, okay? You got to think through it. Let's get back to sales because sales is awesome. And I think more and more in our industry, people are getting away from it and they're discounting the value, and they see these random salespeople that do way better than everybody else. And they just kind of go, well, that's an anomaly. No, that's because, you have 2 salespeople out of 100 that are doing really well. You know why? Because you only have 2 out of 100 that care about sales, that are reading sales books, that are listening to sales audio programs, that are planning their presentation, that are thinking about the sales psychology. So why don't we spread that? And that could be a huge competitive edge for you in 2020. Have an awesome day.